Greg Tucker, you are stoking the fire over here.
I am indeed.
That's some pretty hard work. Number one, I want one for my backyard barbecue. 3-4 weeks ago, we're out on the road filming somewhere in the middle of nowhere. I have a flat tire. We pull over. I take out my cell phone. I call AAA. Within an hour, they're there. My tire is fixed. We're moving on down the road. If I had a flat tire in 1870, that's not the way it would go. In fact, I'd probably be coming to see you.
You would indeed, and believe it or not, my father in his lifetime, they had to take their wagons to the blacksmith to have them repaired.
They had to come to someone like you and say, I need a harness piece, I need a bracket, I need a bit, I need something. And the blacksmith's job was to understand and to know how to make all of that.
We're from 1870 to 1910. And by those time periods, I will admit they had suffered a great deal from Industrial Revolution. There were certain things could be bought,
right?
But the further outlying you were, the more dependent you were on them. I always say it's as much art as science, because there is a great deal of science involved, and these guys, I think, happed up on much of that by happenstance. They weren't exactly certain why it worked, but it did.
This is heavy, number one. Number two, this is your raw material now. This is what you start with.
It is indeed. This was the original material that Smiths used for the first 3,000 years or so. This is an
3,000 years.
Yeah, about the first 3,000 years Smiths worked, they were working wrought iron. And this is a piece probably from perhaps late 1800s, early 1900s.
Right.
It's no longer produced on Earth anywhere. We think it's probably part of a harrow axle at one point.
Now that makes sense, because you can still see the rectangular and squared off shape that would have been that axle that turned that. So this is it a very pure iron, a very impure iron? What are you starting with here as a raw material?
It's hard to quantify. It's a lot less quantifiable than today's iron. Today's iron is very consistent, at least if it's made in America. We know pretty much the standards for our iron. This stuff, it depended on how much wrought was put into the iron.
Okay.
There's an old saying that says you either swear by it or swear at it. And it depends on the purity of the iron. So there was a huge difference in the amount of time that went into some of it, and thus the quality thereof. Yeah. Wrought iron tends to crack if you don't work it properly. That's the downside to it. And so I may indeed crack this a few times and have to put it back in the fire and weld it.
They started this day giving me my trusty dusty work gloves. Yeah. So I'm putting them on whether I need them or not.
Okay.
All right.
We'll go right through the entrance here.
Right in the, like I put my baked potatoes on the grill. Now we can see this is still sticking out the end here.
And the heat will not travel this far for a long time. I'll be able to handle it.
So you're still going to be able to work with that while that's getting to a temperature that you need to make it malleable.
That's right.
All right, can I turn this crank? Would I break anything? There's no effort required in this. That is kind of perpetual motion. It's a very well balanced machine. It's doing all the work for me. How old would you say this furnace and setup is here?
That's probably turn of the century, maybe around 1900. Could be late 1800s. I know that patent came about around 1870. We have an anvil behind you that dates to 1833.
Wow. I tell you what, I have worked pieces of a day on a farm today, and I'm already starting to feel it. I think I plowed 3 whole rows. I've been turning this wheel 3 whole minutes. I've done a few other things here and there. I broke the sawmill. So, but some people were doing bits and pieces and all of this every day of their life, Greg, and this was just a day at work on the farm. And what's funny is 100 years from now, people are gonna look back at some of the things that we do and go, whoo, they had it hard. So it's going right on the anvil then. Oh, wow, look at this. Yeah. Woo! How hot is that, Greg?
Oh, 1800 degrees.
1800 degrees.
The object is to eventually get this to be about 3/8 of an inch thick.
Right.
Half this thickness. And by that point, it will be about this long. And we're going to make an object called a froe. Now, we won't have time to make the complete thing.
Yeah, sure.
But a froe was used to usually to split off shingles or shakes for houses. Just go left to right if you like to.
You can feel it give a little bit.
Yeah.
Not a lot. It's not real happy about cooperating,
And it's a lot softer than modern iron, I can tell you.
but it's cooperating. And this process, give me a ballpark. If I came in here and you didn't have a horseshoe made and ready for me to just take a horseshoe, how long would it take you to make a horseshoe?
A good smith can probably whip out a horseshoe, the whole thing, in around 15 to 20 minutes. He can whip out a shoe.
Okay, so a lot of this is like everything else. Practice makes perfect.
That's it. That's it.
Back in the fire?
Back in the fire.
That was just maybe 2 minutes you were able to work that.
Right, and we'll do, to make that fro, I'll probably do 50 or maybe 50 or 60 heats.
So that same process you just did, where we got it up to heat, stood there and cranked that knob, pulled it out, swung that big hammer for 2-3 minutes, you gotta do that maybe 60 more times.
To do the complete finish, yes, so that'd be about right.
Wow,
That'd be about right.
you're gonna need a little more help.